This year's Tour de France features something rather special on stage 17. It's the shortest mass start stage since the double-day split stages disappeared more than 30 years ago. This 65-kilometre stage features over 3,000 metres of vertical elevation gain, 2 descents, 3 climbs, including one brand new summit finish that had to be especially resurfaced for this year's race. Oh, and I haven't yet mentioned they're going to be gridding the race too. Whoever is in the maillot jaune will start at the front in a group of the first 20 on GC. There will then be a gap to the next 20 and so on. How will this pan out? I don't really know, but it will certainly look different on the start line. Stage 17 of this year's tour starts almost immediately uphill. There's no neutralised on this stage either, so it's going to be straight out of the blocks and flat out into the first climb, which is this one, the Col de Peyresourde. 15.3 kilometres at an average gradient of 6.1%. But don't be fooled, there are some flatter sections and actually even some slightly downhill sections which bring the gradient down. The climb is actually nearer 10% most of the way up. It's quite an unspectacular start to the Peyresourde. You roll past a sign on the right hand side and it tells you how far it is to the top and how many metres you're going to gain. But you don't have to wait long before you're rewarded with these spectacular views and the stunning valleys. So I've made it to the top of the Peyresourde, which is the first climb of the day, and as you can see we're at 1,563 metres now. Whilst I don't think this climb is going to define the front of the race, it could have quite severe consequences for the back end of the race. It's going to be very tough if you lose contact with the group here and you have to ride the next 40 kilometres by yourself. One thing that is for sure though, no matter who you are and what your position is in the overall, you're going to need a really good warm-up before you start this stage because it is going to be fast from the start. I have just finished the descent of the Peyresourde and the valley road that goes through the town here. We've come around the lake and there is no time for recovery. From the top of the Peyresourde to the bottom of the Col d'Azet, it's going to be around 12 to 15 minutes, depending on which group you're in and how fast you're going. It's going to make for very little recovery, which means if you're suffering on the first climb, the second climb is going to be much, much worse. So, I finally made it to the top of the Col de Val Louron-Azet, 1,580 metres at this point, and it was 7.4 kilometres long with an average gradient of 8.5%. And one thing I definitely noticed was just how much tougher those lower slopes were than the Peyresourde, which you can see just ahead of me over there. There were many hairpins at the bottom of this climb and there were much steeper ramps in between them. Unlike the Peyresourde, which kind of flowed quite nicely, this climb is really much shorter, sharper, and it's really going to sap the energy from those legs. Bearing in mind there was no recovery before leading into this climb, I really think you'll see a lot more damage done on stage 17 when you get to this one. In the distance you can see where we're about to go, and as I mentioned before, you can see where we've come from. If you were to come and stand here, you'd be able to see probably 90 minutes of racing from this single point. The last time the Tour visited here, the Col d'Azet, it was Rafael Majka who won. It was 2014, and coincidentally, it was also stage 17. This descent certainly saves the best till last, with a few really tight off-camber corners with plenty of gravel all over the road. It's good fun, sort of. But if you can take your attention away from the descent for 1 second, and look at that, Col de Portet. That looks absolutely brutal. I've just seen a few vehicles driving up there, and they were barely moving. Let's go and check it out. One of the key features of this climb, other than how stunning it is and how steep it is the road surface. Up until very, very recently, this was gravel. They've now asphalted the climb, but I can't help but feel it may have been better as gravel. The surface is going to melt if it gets any hotter, and I can already feel the stones sticking to my tyres and flicking up against my frame, which makes for a very slow, sloggy ride. This final climb is a real treat to the viewer. You'll be able to watch most of the climb from the helicopter shots, and you'll see the riders way back down the mountain, which is quite exposed. So if it's windy like it is today, that's going to have quite an influence on the result. 43 kilometres of the 65 kilometres are uphill. And the descents are pretty short-lived, so there's no recovery time between the climbs either, which is going to make the stage very, very intense. In my mind, the race is going to be shaped quite a lot on that second climb because it comes so quickly after the first one, and any damage that's done there will be heavily consolidated here. It's a long climb and it saves the very best to last. It gets steep and it really starts to bite right at the top. This is the sort of stage that I really see the end winner of the Tour taking the result on. I find it hard to believe that anyone's going to be close to them. If you enjoyed this video, why not give us a thumbs up? And for more epic climbs, click down here.